Let's cut through the nonsense. Some people push your limits just to see how much they can get away with. They talk over you, throw sly insults, and act like your time and feelings don't matter. And what's worse, society expects you to just swallow it, smile, nod, and pretend it doesn't bother you. Not anymore. Respect isn't given freely. It's earned. And sometimes it's taken back by force. No, not through shouting matches or pointless arguments. That's what they want, to drag you down to their level. Instead, you move differently. You respond with actions so sharp they cut deeper than words. Today, we're getting brutally honest. I'll show you 6 powerful ways to handle disrespect that will make people think twice before crossing you again. These methods aren't about revenge. They're about setting a standard so high that no one dares to treat you like an afterthought. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And that's exactly what we'll do. No begging, no reacting, just pure, unshakable control. By the end of this, you won't just demand respect, you'll command it. Let's begin. 1. The power of saying nothing. Ever noticed how some people thrive on disrespect? They interrupt, mock, or belittle, just to see if they can get a rise out of you. It's like a game to them. They poke, they prod, waiting for you to react, to lose control. Because the moment you do, they win. But what happens when you don't give them what they want? Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain lashes down, but you don't flinch. You don't move. You just stand, calm, still, unshaken. That's what the silent stare is. It's your shield, your way of standing firm when someone tries to shake you. No words, no reaction, just presence. Most people don't know how to handle silence. It's unsettling. It forces them to sit with their own words, their own actions. When someone disrespects you, they expect one of 2 things: submission or retaliation. Either you'll back down, laughing it off like it doesn't bother you, or you'll fire back, giving them the chaos they crave. But when you simply look at them, calm, indifferent, unshaken, it does something they weren't prepared for. It turns their own words against them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is what the silent stare embodies. It tells the other person, "I will not play your game. I am above it." I remember a time when I used this technique, and it worked like magic. A guy in a meeting kept interrupting me, acting like his voice was the only one that mattered. At first, I tried the usual, speaking louder, trying to take my turn. But he bulldozed right over me. That's when I decided to stop playing. I leaned back, folded my arms, and just looked at him. No expression, no words, just 5 solid seconds of silence. He noticed. He tried to keep talking, but his words slowed. Then he hesitated. His confidence wavered. And the best part? The whole room felt it. People turned to look at him. Suddenly, the spotlight wasn't on me, trying to fight for my space. It was on him, exposing his behavior for what it was. He fumbled. He got uncomfortable. And after that moment, he didn't interrupt me again. Why? Because the silent stare isn't just a reaction. It's a mirror. When someone is used to treating others poorly, they rarely get confronted in a way that makes them reflect. A silent stare forces them to see themselves through your eyes. It's not aggression, not an argument. It's a reminder that they are the only ones speaking, and suddenly their words don't sound as powerful as they did in their head. Some might wonder, but isn't this passive-aggressive? Number. It's not passive, and it's not aggressive. It's direct. It's intentional. It's a way of reclaiming your space without lowering yourself to their level. Think of a lion in the wild. It doesn't roar at every challenge. It doesn't waste energy on small threats. It just stares. And that alone is enough to make the other animals think twice. Power doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes, the quietest move is the most dominant. And here's the real secret. It's not just about them, it's about you. We live in a world where people feel the need to constantly explain themselves, to prove their worth, to fight for respect. But the moment you stop seeking validation, the moment you realize you don't need to justify yourself to anyone, you become untouchable. I used to be the person who nervously laughed off rude comments. Someone would question my choices, and I'd scramble to defend them as if their opinion mattered. But I realized something. The more you react, the more you teach people how to treat you. So I stopped. And it changed everything. When someone disrespects you and you simply look at them, you send a message louder than any words ever could. I respect myself too much to play this game. Try it. The next time someone crosses the line, don't explain, don't argue, don't fight. Just look. Hold the moment. Let them feel the weight of their own words. Watch how fast they crumble under their own disrespect. Because silence isn't weakness. Silence is power. 2. When silence speaks louder than words. Some people think silence is weakness, that if you don't respond, you're letting them win. But let's be real. Who actually wins? The one staying calm, unbothered, in control? Or the one desperately trying to get a reaction, throwing words around like punches, hoping something lands? Silence isn't passive. It's a strategy. It's the art of saying everything without saying a word. When someone disrespects you, they're baiting you. They want you to argue, to explain yourself, to get defensive. Why? Because the moment you engage, they own you. Your emotions, your energy, your peace. It all becomes theirs to play with. But when you say nothing, when you let their words dangle in the air, unanswered, it forces them to face their own behavior without the distraction of your reaction. And that silence, it's deafening. Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." That's the key. People don't control you unless you let them. When you respond, you give them permission to invade your mind. When you stay silent, you take that power back. I remember dealing with someone who loved to sneak in little insults, disguising them as jokes. The kind of person who smirks after making a rude comment, just waiting to see how you react. One day, he made some snide remark about my work. Normally, I would have explained myself, maybe even thrown a jab back. But this time, nothing. I just looked at him, raised an eyebrow, and let the silence settle between us. He didn't know what to do. The energy in the room shifted. Suddenly, he was left alone with his own words, exposed in a way he never expected. And just like that, the game ended. He never tried it again, because without a reaction, his power disappeared. Some people might wonder, but if I don't say anything, won't they think I'm weak? Number. In fact, it's the opposite. Weakness is getting pulled into their drama. Weakness is explaining yourself to someone who doesn't even respect you. Strength? Strength is knowing you don't owe anyone a response. Think of it like this. Imagine someone throws a punch, expecting you to swing back. But instead, you step aside. They stumble forward, off balance, their own momentum working against them. That's what silence does. It lets their own words trip them up. It's not about ignoring disrespect. It's about handling it on your terms. Some battles aren't worth fighting. Some words don't deserve a reply. When you stay silent, you send a message stronger than any argument ever could. You're not worth my energy. Silence is a boundary. It's a filter. It protects your peace by refusing to let negativity take root in your mind. The moment you stop feeling the need to justify yourself, to argue, to fight for respect, you free yourself. You step out of the chaos and into control. I used to think that if I didn't stand up for myself, people would walk all over me. That if I didn't respond, I'd be seen as weak. But then I started paying attention. Every time I explained myself to someone who didn't deserve it, I felt drained. Every time I argued with someone who wasn't even listening, I felt frustrated. But every time I chose silence instead, I felt powerful. Not everything needs a reaction. Not every insult deserves an answer. Sometimes the loudest statement you can make is refusing to speak at all. So here's my challenge to you. Next time someone disrespects you, pause. Take a deep breath. Look them in the eye and say nothing. Let your silence settle into the space between you. Let them feel it. Watch how fast they start scrambling to fill the void. Because when you stop feeding the fire, it burns out on its own. And that's power. 3. Stop explaining, start living. Ever notice how people always seem to demand an explanation for your choices? You decide to skip an event. Why didn't you come? You switch jobs. Why would you do that? You make a big change. Are you sure that's a good idea? It's like the moment you make a decision for yourself, the world suddenly thinks they have a right to weigh in. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation. It might sound bold, maybe even harsh, but think about it. How often are these questions really coming from a place of genuine curiosity? Most of the time, they're not looking to understand. They're looking to judge, to poke holes in your decision, to make you second-guess yourself. Maybe because they're too afraid to make bold choices in their own life. Maybe because your independence makes them uncomfortable. Maybe because they need to validate their own choices by tearing yours down. But whatever their reason, it's not your job to reassure them. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth." And that's the point. Most people questioning your choices don't know your truth. They don't live your life. They don't feel your desires, your goals, your dreams. So why let them control your decisions? I remember when I left a stable, well-paying job to pursue something I was truly passionate about. The moment people found out, you'd think I told them I was moving to another planet. Why would you leave something safe? What if it doesn't work? Are you sure? At first, I did what most people do. I explained. I gave my reasons, laid out my plan, tried to convince them that I knew what I was doing. But the more I explained, the more they questioned. It felt like no matter what I said, they just found new ways to challenge me. Then one day, I stopped. Someone asked, "Why would you leave that job?" I looked at them and simply said, "Because I wanted to." And then I waited. The silence was beautiful. They didn't know what to do with that answer. They expected me to defend myself, to justify my decision. But I didn't. And without that back and forth, the conversation ended. That was the moment I realized something powerful. People only have as much power over your choices as you give them. Some people might wonder, but won't I come off as rude if I don't explain? Number confidence isn't rude. The most self-assured people in the world don't go around justifying their every move. When was the last time you saw a truly confident person begging for validation? Probably never. Because confident people don't seek permission. They don't explain themselves to those who were never meant to understand. Think of it like this. If you saw a lion walking through the jungle, would it stop to explain to the animals why it's heading in a certain direction? Would it ask for approval before making a move? Number. The lion walks with certainty. It moves with purpose. And that's exactly how you need to carry yourself. Not everyone will understand your choices. That's fine. They don't have to. The only person who needs to be at peace with your decisions is you. I used to be the type of person who would practically give a TED Talk every time someone questioned my decisions. I thought if I explained enough, if I gave them every little detail, they'd finally understand. But I was wrong. People who doubt you won't be convinced, and people who support you don't need convincing. So I made a deal with myself. When someone asks me about a choice I've made, I'll answer briefly. A sentence or two, nothing more. If they keep pushing, I smile and move on. And you know what? Life got lighter. The more I stopped explaining, the more confident I became in my own decisions. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you free yourself. You stop wasting energy on justifications, and you start pouring that energy into actually living the life you want. So here's your challenge. The next time someone questions your decision, resist the urge to explain. Just say, "Because I wanted to," or "That's what felt right for me." And then let the silence do the talking. Watch how powerful that moment is. Watch how quickly people scramble to fill the void when you don't hand them an argument. And most importantly, watch how strong you feel. Because at the end of the day, your choices don't need a stamp of approval. They are valid simply because you made them. 4. Love people from afar, when distance is the best defense. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. That's the hard truth. Some people, whether they realize it or not, bring nothing but negativity. They criticize, dismiss, and belittle, all while expecting you to just take it. And for too long, you might have. You might have let them stay close, thinking it wasn't a big deal. But here's the real question. Why keep people near when all they do is drain you? Keeping your distance isn't about being cold or dramatic. It's about self-respect. It's about protecting your energy from people who don't value it. Imagine your life is like an exclusive club. Not everyone gets VIP access. In fact, some people don't even deserve a ticket inside. Yet too often, we let disrespectful people take up space they haven't earned. And what do they do with that access? They criticize, mock, and take advantage of your time. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Now ask yourself, how much of your frustration, stress, or self-doubt comes from the people you allow too close? How many of your sleepless nights, your second-guessing, or your drained energy could be avoided if you simply stepped back from certain people? I had a friend once who never missed a chance to throw in a backhanded comment. My choices, my career, even the music I liked, nothing was off limits. At first, I brushed it off. That's just how they are, I told myself. But over time, I noticed something. I started dreading our conversations. I felt like I had to defend myself every time we spoke. And yet, I kept them close. Why? Because we had history. Because it felt easier to tolerate them than to step away. Then one day, I tried something different. I didn't make a big announcement. I didn't call them out. I just stepped back. Instead of seeing them all the time, I let the space between us grow. And something amazing happened. I felt lighter. The more distance I created, the more I realized just how toxic that friendship had become. And the best part? I didn't miss it. At all. Here's what most people don't tell you. You don't have to keep people in your life just because they've been there for a long time. Friendship, family, history, none of these things are excuses to tolerate disrespect. If someone continuously makes you feel small, drains your energy, or treats you like an afterthought, you don't owe them your presence. Some might say, but isn't it selfish to walk away? Protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's necessary. Society teaches us to be endlessly forgiving, to be loyal no matter what. But at what cost? What's the price of keeping toxic people around? Your mental health? Your self-esteem? Your sense of peace? That's too high a price to pay. Think of it like this. If you have a plant that isn't growing because it's stuck in the shade, what do? You move it. You give it space to get the sunlight it needs. Your life is the same. If someone is blocking your growth, it's time to create space. And here's something else. Distance gives you clarity. When you step back from someone who constantly disrespects you, you start seeing things as they really are. You're no longer in the fog of emotional manipulation. You stop making excuses for them. You stop hoping they'll change. Instead, you realize that you deserve better. One of the hardest things in life is accepting that some relationships are meant to fade. But the moment you accept it, you free yourself. You stop holding on to people who no longer fit in your life, and in that space, you make room for the ones who actually respect and uplift you. I used to struggle with guilt when distancing myself from people. I'd think, what if they think I don't care? What if I'm being too harsh? But over time, I learned something powerful. Distancing yourself isn't about cutting people off. It's about making a choice to prioritize your well-being, a choice to no longer entertain relationships that bring you down. And you know what? The moment I started choosing myself, my world changed. I had more energy, more peace, more confidence. I stopped explaining, stopped defending, stopped giving my time to people who didn't appreciate it. So here's my challenge to you. Think about the people in your life who constantly disrespect you, the ones who drain your energy, the ones who make you feel small. And then ask yourself, do they really deserve this much access to me? Because the truth is, some people are best loved from afar. 5. Walk like you own the ground you stand on. When people try to break you down, they're not just attacking your words or actions. They're testing something deeper: your confidence, your sense of self, your very presence. They want you to doubt yourself, to shrink in their shadow, to look down as if you owe them an apology just for being who you are. But here's the truth: you owe no one an apology for existing. There's something powerful, almost untouchable, about a person who holds their head high. It's not just about posture, it's about presence. It's the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who refuses to be made small. People who disrespect you count on one thing: that their words will make you fold, that you'll lower your gaze, hunch your shoulders, and carry the weight of their opinions like it belongs to you. But when you stand tall, when you refuse to be rattled, it does something they weren't expecting. It shakes them instead. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is what confidence is. Not arrogance, not pride, but a deep-rooted knowing that you are enough, no matter what anyone else thinks. I used to deal with someone who made a sport out of subtle insults. The smirk, the backhanded compliments, the little digs disguised as jokes. And for a long time, I let it get to me. I'd laugh it off, pretend it didn't bother me. But inside, it burned. It chipped away at my confidence, made me second-guess myself even when I wasn't around them. Then one day, I decided, no more. I showed up different, shoulders back, head high. And when the comments came, I didn't react. I didn't shrink. I just looked them straight in the eye, smiled, and carried on like their words meant nothing. And something interesting happened. They stopped. Why? Because suddenly, their words had nowhere to land. They weren't reaching me anymore. And when someone who thrives on disrespect realizes they have no power over you, they start to lose interest. This is why confidence makes people uncomfortable, especially the ones who rely on making others feel small. They need to believe that they can control how you feel, that their words or opinions have the power to shape you. And when you walk through life like their words mean nothing, it disrupts their whole world. But let's be real, not everyone will like it when you stand tall. Some people will find your confidence offensive. They'll call it arrogance. They'll say you're full of yourself or too much. That's because people who don't respect you don't want you to respect yourself either. They want to keep you in a place where you're constantly seeking their approval, constantly trying to prove your worth. But here's the thing. You don't need to prove anything. Think of the most powerful people you've ever seen. Do they shrink themselves to fit into someone else's comfort zone? Number. They walk into every room like they belong there. Because they do. And so do you. I used to think that confidence had to be earned, that you had to achieve something first, prove yourself, get validation from others before you could fully own who you are. But I was wrong. Confidence isn't something you get from the world. It's something you decide for yourself. You don't wait for permission to hold your head high. You just do it. Some might wonder, but what if I don't feel confident? What if I struggle with self-doubt? Here's the secret. Confidence isn't a feeling. It's a practice. At first, it might feel forced, but the more you carry yourself with confidence, the more natural it becomes. Your mind follows your body. Walk tall, and soon enough, you'll feel taller inside too. And it's not just about how you carry yourself physically, it's about how you carry yourself mentally. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't respect you. Stop justifying your choices to those who were never meant to understand. Stop letting someone's opinion of you shape your opinion of yourself. Hold your head high, not just in posture, but in mindset. One of the biggest shifts I ever made was realizing that no one else's opinion should have more power over me than my own. That was the game changer. That was the moment I stopped caring about who liked me, who agreed with me, or who thought I was too much. I stopped bending to fit into spaces that weren't meant for me. And suddenly, life got lighter. I started attracting different people. People who respected me, who valued me, who lifted me higher instead of trying to bring me down. And the ones who didn't? They naturally faded away. Because here's what happens when you own your worth. The right people will be drawn to you, and the wrong ones will be repelled. So the next time someone tries to make you feel small, don't react. Just take a deep breath, square your shoulders, hold your head high, and look them dead in the eye as if to say, I see you, but I'm above this. You'll feel a shift, a quiet power settling in. A sense of peace that comes from knowing that their words hold no weight in your world. Because at the end of the day, respect starts with you. And the more you respect yourself, the less room there is for anyone else's disrespect to stick. So stand tall, own your worth, and remember, you were never meant to be.